Hi, I'm Chris Seaton, and this is the Sit Down with Chris Seaton. Today's episode: Privilege, or Why You Should Never Ask an Attorney for Advice on Facebook. Now, being a lawyer, I get a lot of requests on social media for questions concerning legal matters. Sometimes they get emailed to me by people who have the best of intentions. I'm very hesitant to answer any sort of question on social media regarding legal advice. In fact, I just don't do it. Emails from clients, that's a different matter. I have my own policies for that. But the biggest reason that I don't respond to Facebook legal advice requests stems largely from a thing that we attorneys have to abide by called the attorney-client privilege. Now, if you come to me and you actively seek legal advice concerning a matter that is bothering you, you are in the process of initiating what's called the attorney-client privilege. Now, if I respond to you and give you legal advice, we have, whether or not I get paid, essentially created an attorney-client relationship. That means that anything you say is outside of the realm of my disclosure. I can't talk about it unless you expressly give me permission to discuss any aspect of the things we talk about. Now, there are several aspects to privilege. Usually, the way that I like to discuss it is this. If you meet with me on a one-on-one basis in my office and no one else, maybe besides my secretary, can hear what's going on, then I have basically plausible deniability that the conversation ever took place. I also have the ability to keep my mouth shut, and frankly, I'm legally required to keep my mouth shut about anything and everything that takes place during that conversation. The reason we have privilege is so that you can be honest with us, and attorneys want you to be honest with them. We know that there's probably some aspects of your case that you feel uncomfortable about, and we know there's probably some things that you really wish never saw the light of day. We're not here to judge you. We want to make sure that we can help you out in the best way possible, and that's why privilege exists. Now, unfortunately, there are ways that privilege can be waived. For example, if you bring a family member for, say, support purposes to a meeting with an attorney and that family member hears everything that's going on, they're not a client. They can, if the other side finds out that they were present during that meeting, well, privilege is kind of waived and they can be called to testify about what was said during the meeting. Another example I like to use is if you and I are talking about your case on the telephone and you've got it on speakerphone where other people can hear what we're saying in the car, then privilege is waived and the people that heard our conversation can actually be called to testify in court about what happened. Another example of the privilege getting waived is something that a lot of people don't think about very often. And that's when you go home from your meeting with me or another attorney and say, "Oh, that Chris Seaton guy, he was such a nice guy. He helped me out with my problems. This is what he told me." And then you begin to talk about all the things we said during the course of our meeting. That's a waiver of privilege as well. Some other aspects that bother me that I could see as a potential waiver of privilege, especially regarding emails. This is something that I hadn't considered for a very long time and now is basically standard policy for me. If you are using a Yahoo, Gmail, Hotmail, or any other free webmail service for the purposes of us communicating, I don't respond to them. And that's because the way those services make their money is by scraping data from your emails to put ads in front of you so that they can see things that you want. As a CLE promoter once said, this is going to be part of an ethics opinion one day, and I just don't want to be a part of it. So usually what I end up telling people is that, they've got an internet service provider that gives them an email address. They may not realize they have it, but that's the email address that we'll use for communication if you want to communicate via email. And the reason we do that is because you're already paying the internet service provider. They don't need to scrape the contents of your emails to give you ads for things that you might want to buy. Facebook. Facebook is a big part of everybody's lives, and it's really easy if you know an attorney to reach out and just ask them a question. Don't do this. Never do this. They have access to any and all conversations that you use through Facebook Messenger. Facebook is so ubiquitous that when it comes to family law cases and even in criminal cases, I've seen people's entire Facebook profiles get downloaded just so that they can be used against the other party later in court. Do you really not think for one second that Facebook Messenger bit that you send to me or another attorney isn't going to be used against you later on in court? If your answer is no, it will never be used, why would it be used? Then you're delusional. So just don't do it. Don't go there. Don't direct message me a legal question on Twitter. Don't Snapchat it to me. The social media stuff is just a no-go. You want to make sure that the privilege stays intact because there are things about your case that the other side doesn't need to know. And we, as attorneys, are charged with making sure that privilege is protected. So that's all for today. Remember, we want to keep all of your secrets a secret. Your business is your business. We're not here to judge you. And you don't have to lie to us. That's why the attorney-client privilege exists. So keep that in mind when you're talking with your attorney, and everything will work well. Until next time, this is The Sit Down with Chris Seaton. If you want to hear our audio broadcast, you can go to iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, tune in and hear us talk about politics, entertainment, culture, and all that sort of stuff by searching for The Sit Down with Chris Seaton, or you can go to the web address located right here. And if you're interested in supporting our little endeavor, you can go to the Sit Down's Patreon account and become part of our Patreon family, which you can find here. And stick around. There's going to be a lot more fun to come. Until we record again, take care of yourselves and each other. Peace.